Good morning, and happy Easter, Sameach Pasach, Ramadan Mubarak, and happy Earth Day Sunday. Welcome to the Boise Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, a community gathered to nurture spiritual growth, real connection, and faithful action for a better world. Our minister, Sarah Lawal, is on sabbatical, a much-deserved sabbatical. I am Gwyn Reid, and I will serve as celebrant for today's service. Welcome to those joining us virtually. We are so glad you're out there, and welcome to all of you who are joining us in person. Welcome to you, old friends and new, young and old. You are an essential part of our celebration today. Whether today is your first day with us or your 999th Sunday in our midst, and I counted, I have more than that, actually. We are stronger because you are with us, and we're glad you are here. All who join us in the spirit of curiosity, love, and justice are welcome this morning, whoever you are, and whomever you love, whatever your life's journey, your presence is a blessing. We are all growing, all learning, all loved. Just as you are welcome here. Don't change a thing unless you want to. In the spirit of our mission to build a beloved community centered on justice, equity, compassion, and interconnection, let us take a moment to acknowledge our gathering upon native land.
As we gather together, we acknowledge that the land upon which our church and homes exist is the ancestral land stolen from the people of the Shoshone-Bannock, the Shoshone-Paiute, Coeur d'Alene, Kootenai, and Nez Perce nations, along with many other tribes whose names have been lost in history. We acknowledge that our presence here today is founded upon the exclusions and erasures of many indigenous peoples. With this acknowledgement, we wish to demonstrate our ongoing commitment to the work of dismantling the legacies of settler colonialism. We honor indigenous peoples' connection to the land and support their right to sovereignty.
We pay our respect to the Native elders, past and present, and extend that respect to all First Peoples today. I want to take a moment to welcome those newcomers among us. We know it takes a lot of courage to check out a new community, and we're so glad you've joined us today. For newcomers joining us online, we invite you to introduce yourself in the Zoom chat so our community can warmly welcome you. We'll also share a link to our newcomer form in the chat. Please complete and submit it so we can keep you up to date with all that is happening in our community. And after the service, please join other members of the online service in Zoom breakout rooms for more discussion. For those newcomers joining us in person, we hope you'll stick around after the service to introduce yourselves. You can find a link to our newcomer form using the QR codes on the bookmarks on your seat. We have a lot happening, from book groups to adult classes to meditation to neighborhood pods, both in person and online. I do have one announcement that I'd like to highlight for the whole community. We are now in our annual giving drive, and we invite all of our members and friends to consider their annual financial support of the congregation by making a pledge. This congregation's pastoral and social justice work is supported almost entirely by the generosity of members and friends through annual pledges. The pledging drive will culminate next week on Celebration Sunday, April 24th. We'll have a special worship service in person and online at 10 a.m. featuring music from our Soulful Sunday Band, their first time together since the beginning of the pandemic, and our booth choir. At noon next Sunday, weather permitting, we will gather for a party outside. Bring your own picnic, and booth will provide cookies and drinks. There will be live music, courtesy of the Frim Fram 4. And best of all, you'll get to see and visit with other members of this beloved community. If you're ready to get pledging, we have a few options for you. You can use the pledge card that Nancy mailed out at the beginning of March, or take a pledge card from either vestibule. Mail it in or drop it in the glitter boxes in the vestibules. And if you want to make your pledge online, you can access the link in the online chat or scan the QR code on the pledge card. It is our practice to donate 25% of our unpledged Sunday offering to support our social justice ministries. For the month of April, our partner is Citizens Climate Lobby. They build upon shared values rather than partisan divides and promote the adoption of fair, effective, and sustainable climate change solutions. To participate in today's offering, you can visit our website at boiseuu.org and click the Give at the top right corner of your screen. And for those in person here, you can get to our giving page through the QR code on the bookmark on your seat, or you can drop a check or cash gift in our lock boxes located at each side entrance to the sanctuary. And you can also download the Vanco Giving app on your smartphone. Your checks by mail are always welcome. If you want to drop by with cash or a cow, I don't know. Our spiritual theme for the month is awakening, and today's service focuses on the different types of awakenings that have risen up regarding our unhoused community, centered on Interfaith Sanctuary's move to a new neighborhood. I am so honored to welcome Jodi Peterson back to our pulpit. Jodi is the executive director of the Interfaith Sanctuary Shelter. And we are doubly blessed that Jodi's spouse, the other half of Boise's stealth power couple, Curtis Stigers, is in the building and will be gracing us with music for today's service. I also want to thank the other collaborators on this service, Jim Emerson-Paige, Director of Family Ministries, Carrie Bastian, our music director, Mike Lemieux, audio-visual coordinator, Nancy Harms, program ministry specialist, and thank you to our ushers, Blake McCallum, Sue Philly, Debbie Foster, Sue Stadler, and Elaine Daly. As we enter this time of worship, let us take a moment to center ourselves. Let yourself become fully present in your body and in this space. Set aside your duties and concerns for just this time, and let us take a breath together. Just breathe. knowing that your breath connects you to your spiritual center, to each other, and to the planet. For me, Reverend Kendall Gibbons' second person intimate, the poem that we read at the beginning of each service, captures Martin Buber's I-thou world, the world of encounter in the present moment. Reverend Gibbons' words invite us to participate and act upon this living immediacy and intimacy. If we pay attention, it can alter the way we live out our lives. As I read this familiar poem, I invite you to imagine that the thous and thines are addressed to a beloved neighbor. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-riven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep, to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp that lights where I tread. Thy way is steep, past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream.
That's me. We are not so different. We've all got hopes and dreams. We've got more in common than it seems. There but for the grace go I. They say it 'cause it's true. And when the night is full of fear, light is on for you. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. No matter where you're from, no matter how you pray, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. Everyone is someone. Every day's a new day. Yeah, a new day. Who do you call family? Where do you call home? When you cannot make it on your own. Till the morning's near again, till the storm is through, till the sky skies are clear again, the light is on for you. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. No matter who you love, no matter what they say, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. Everyone is someone. Every day's a new day. Oh, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. No matter how you look, no matter who you love, no matter how you pray, you are welcome here. Everyone is someone. Every day's a new day. Yeah, it's a new day.
I have something to add to my resume. I opened for Curtis Stigers. Each week, we light our flaming chalice, a symbol of our free faith, a beacon of hope, love, and justice. We join in this lighting in solidarity and community with thousands of other Unitarian Universalists, lighting chalices today in churches, homes, and in virtual worship services, reminding us that we are connected to one another and to a larger community of faith and love. As we light the chalice here in the sanctuary, for those joining us on Zoom, if you have a chalice nearby, you're invited to light it with us this morning. Then share in the chat where your chalice is lit this morning. With our collective chalices lit in all our spaces, we offer you this call to worship from Reverend Suzelle Lynch. The fire of love burning deep in every human heart calls us to awaken. Awaken to the work of justice, awaken to the work of compassion, awaken to the work of community. For in this time of human suffering and exaltation, we are called upon beyond awakening into action. May today's chalice flame guide our hearts in service to a greater good that holds all living things in its holy embrace. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everybody. Let's get cozy in our chairs for our time for all ages this morning. I wonder, did anyone wake up to a special surprise today? Maybe you woke up to a new sign of spring, to an egg hunt in your home or your yard, or to a new connection to an old story. In many places right now, people celebrate the reawakening of spring from winter. Lots of people around the world right now are celebrating Easter and Passover and Ramadan. This is a time of feasts and reflection, thinking about how we are all connected together. For folks who are Christian, Easter is the celebration of the resurrection of Jesus after his death. Jesus led by example by being awake to the suffering and pain of others. And Christians hold egg hunts, share gifts, and gather with their families to celebrate. Passover is the celebration of the Exodus for Israelites from slavery into freedom, an ancient story. Jewish people hold big dinners to celebrate this story, where they pray and tell stories honoring the legacy of suffering and yearning for freedom. During the month of Ramadan, Muslims practice prayer, study the Quran, and if it's safe for them to do so, they fast during daylight and break their fasts after dark with big dinners with their whole community. These practices connect them to empathy and acts of care for the suffering of others. Our second UU source calls on us to honor Christianity, Judaism, and Islam by loving our neighbors as we do ourselves. In other words, our faith calls on us to wake up to the pain and suffering of others as we would to our own. But how do we wake up to other people and face their pain and suffering? In order to recognize other people's suffering, first we have to wake up to our inner connection with them. Our story this morning is going to help us explore the many ways we're interconnected. It is called You Matter by Christian Robinson. Let's listen. On our inside cover, we see looking down over a city full of people. And we can imagine that there are people all across the city who would today be celebrating Easter and Passover and Ramadan. As we read, I want you to keep an eye out for the ways that each of our story pictures are interconnected. First up, we see someone looking through a microscope, studying the microorganisms they see there. And it says, the small stuff, too small to see. Those who swim with the tide and those who don't. We're looking at the ancient multicellular ancestors whose changes and evolution shaped everything alive in our world. The ways that they grew together or grew separately. The first to go and the last, you matter. When everyone thinks you're a pest, you see it, mosquito, the most renowned of pests, taking a big drink out of someone. Oh, it's a dinosaur. When something is just out of reach, I don't think they're going to be able to scratch that itch. When everyone is too busy to help, all of the other dinosaurs are a bit concerned over something else. You matter. If you fall down, if you have to start all over again, just like our Earth did millions of years ago, and just like we all do, time and again, if you have to start all over again, even if you are really gassy, you matter. We see an astronaut a modern day astronaut hovering over Earth, and they have a picture of someone, a little kid wearing a striped blue and white shirt. Sometimes home is far away. Oh, I bet they're lonely up there. Sometimes someone you love says goodbye. Here we're back in the city. Here's our kid with the white and blue shirt holding a rocket. Elsewhere in the city, sometimes you feel lost and alone. And we see on one side of the street are two kids, and all the way across this busy street, their dog has gotten away from them. Their dog is lost and alone, but you matter. They're reunited. They've made it to the park, old and young. We see some elders feeding the pigeons, the first to go and the last. A trail of ants carrying away some crumbs down into their nest. The small stuff, too small to see. I bet this kid carrying this airplane doesn't notice the ants who are too small to see. Up in an airplane overlooking the city, you matter. Wherever you are. I wonder, what is a way that you're connected with someone else that surprises you? How can you honor your interconnection with the creatures, the insects, the cellular organisms, and the other people all around you? What is one way you can practice listening with care to the struggles of other people? Join me now in blessing our beloved community with song, where together we learn, grow, and live out our values. Everybody, happy Easter, Hag Samayach, and Ramadan Mubarak.
May your mind be open to new learning. May your lips bring truth into the world. May your heart know love and your hands do the work of justice as you go your way in peace. As you go your way in peace.
Hi, I'm Audrey Richmond, and I'm a senior at Capitol High School and Treasure Valley Mathematics and Science Center. And my family started attending Booth in December of 2019. And originally, I was a bit hesitant to go to church because I thought that I wouldn't believe in the same values that the church would, and I thought that they were going to try and make me change myself. But after attending the winter solstice at Booth and a couple other services after that, I realized that with how open-minded the Booth community is, it was the right community for me to be a part of.
Hi, I'm Kevin Richmond, and I really appreciate the way Booth presents ideas and concepts, and what the monthly theme, and addressing the ideas behind them, and providing a forum for people to really think about it their own way, find their own answers. And I did grow up in the Catholic Church, and I always felt like I was, being told what to think, what to do, how to do. And I think having the opportunity with, the Booth community, to be able to find my own answers and, explore life and all that there is to have, appreciate that opportunity.
Hi, my name is Veronica Richmond, and one thing that I really enjoy about Booth is the inclusion for teenagers. As a 16-year-old, I felt oftentimes in other communities where I was excluded from younger groups, but also excluded from the adult groups, and it kind of left me feeling stranded. So when I joined Booth right before the pandemic and was fully supported throughout it, I found myself a community where I could really relate through the music that was presented in the services, the way things that were presented, the incorporation of pop culture, and in addition, all of the youth groups, whether it was through OWL classes, the racial justice camps, or even just the weekly meetings after the service to be able to meet some new people during such a difficult time.
Hi, I'm Jamie Richmond, and I am a second-generation Idahoan who had never heard about Booth until a few years ago. I grew up very active in my church. It was a Methodist church, and I quit going when I was a young adult, but when I got married and had kids, I felt like I needed a community, but just didn't think that there was a community that existed that really did embrace being who you were and believing what you wanted to believe, not someone telling you what you had to believe. I was looking for a group that had a very strong feeling about social justice and environmental concerns and education. When I first heard about the human sexuality courses for youth that Booth offered, the Our Whole Lives series, I was very intrigued. Things were happening in our family, and I felt like it was very important to start church shopping. So we had decided as a family to try Booth, a Catholic service, a Presbyterian service, and a Methodist service. Well, we attended the pagan winter solstice service, and we all knew instantly that there was no need to attend any other church service. We had found our community. Over the next few months, we began going to as many Booth events as possible to take advantage of as many of the classes and events that Booth offered. The Boofers were so inviting, caring, active, and helpful, and I love to see that Booth really did mean you belong here, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from or what you believe. I love Booth and all of you Boofers so much, and I want to thank you all for welcoming our family and so many others into this amazing community. I hope you can join our family in supporting Booth during the annual giving drive. Thank you.
Thank you, Audrey, Kevin, Veronica, and Jamie, for sharing about your short but intense journey in our faith and our congregation during these pandemic times. Your energy and enthusiasm is an inspiration to me. I know that part of what helps folks feel as if they belong here is our dedication to supporting each other. We honor that in many ways. Perhaps the most conspicuous evidence of that support is the time we set aside each week to acknowledge the joys among us and to grieve our sorrows and losses so that we might lift that burden for each other and receive the blessing of this community. I remind you that you can submit your joys and sorrows online each week via the link on our website. Our virtual community will continue to share joys and sorrows in the chat. It is through our sharing with one another that we forge deep bonds of community and connection. As we begin, I would like to hold up the following joys and sorrows that have recently been shared. Claudia Fernsworth shared that her cousin Marlene suddenly died last week while vacationing in Hawaii. Last Thursday, we gathered to celebrate the life of longtime member Martin Wilkie. Please continue to hold Martin's wife, Carol, in your thoughts and prayers. And a couple of joys. Jen Salisbury shared that her book, Leaders Who Coach, has been published. And Anne McClanahan is glad that her daughter, Marion, has become her healthcare advocate. If you are holding someone in your heart this morning, I invite you to speak their name aloud in this community of love so that we may hold them with you. May the arms of this community hold all our joys and sorrows, those named and those that remain silent and close to our hearts. May we feel the grace that surrounds us and be transformed by the spirit of love and life, with warmth to celebrate our joys, and with gentleness to soothe our aching hearts. Please join me in the spirit of prayer. Spirit of life and love, today at the nexus of 3 holy days, Passover, Easter, and Ramadan, we are assailed with stories from both near and far that trouble us and test our faith. Stories of suffering, injustice, and environmental disaster. Let us awaken to the reminders that these holidays provide of liberation, rebirth, and contemplation. Escape from bondage, the rising of a beloved teacher, and the prayerful actions that prod us to recognize the sacredness of life. As Sister Margaret Guider conveys to us in her poem, the convergence of these sacred days should serve as a collective reminder that the prophetic heritage of these faith traditions continues to permeate the air which the human family breathes, of freedom, love, and peace, the life-giving breath of the Holy One. Yet many of us throughout the year breathe through our mouths while holding our noses. In doing so, we defend ourselves from the suffocating air of bondage, hatred, and violence that surrounds us. Sister Margaret tells us, however, in doing so, we also close ourselves off from any opportunity of smelling the sense of justice, hope, and compassion that also arouse conscience, giving rise to courage and resiliency. Perhaps these holy days will provide us with an opportunity to open ourselves to be moved, Christians, Muslims, Jews, and others, to breathe in the sense of the sacred, of freedom, love, and peace that we are all called to breathe out, not only on special days, but every day. As we gather today in this service, may these sacred stories and nature's ever-present cyclical truth awaken in us the need for connection, for understanding that we matter, for loving our neighbors as ourselves. We pray these things in the name of all those known and unknown, present and absent, remembered and forgotten. We pray in the names of all helpers of humankind and of the planet. Amen.
There's trouble all over, troubles of our own. Some folks looking for their place in the sun, some just looking for a home. But how they can hurt you when you're out there on that firing line. Times are hard, yeah, I've been there too. The world can come tumbling down on you, and when the nights are long, and you can't go on. I'm gonna be right there beside you through the darkness till the dawn. Hold on tight, let me be your light. And when the deep dark night is over, it's gonna be alright. You wake up in the morning and the clouds come rolling in. You don't know where you're going, you don't like where you've been. Have a little faith now, 'cause there ain't nothing in this world that you can't do. You gotta be strong, you gotta fight that fall, even when your back is up against the wall. When the night's all long and you can't go on, I'm gonna be right there beside you through the darkness till the dawn. So hold on tight and let me be your light. And when the deep dark night is over, it's gonna be alright. Yeah, you're gonna be alright. The sun is gonna shine again one day. Love is gonna help us on our way. Oh, hold on tight, let me be your light. And when the deep dark night is over, it's gonna be alright. Oh yes, it's alright. Oh baby, it's alright. You're gonna be alright. All right.
When I was in elementary school, I faithfully attended my beloved Presbyterian church in Wendell, Idaho. My teachers, thankfully, spent much more time on the life and words of Jesus than of the apostles' experience of the resurrection. I appreciated the story of the resurrection and its influence on his followers, but much more intimate to me were the words from the book of Luke, chapter 10, verses 29 to 37. But he, desiring to justify himself, said to Jesus, "And who is my neighbor?" Jesus replied, "A man was going down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he fell among robbers who stripped him and beat him and departed, leaving him half dead. Now by chance, a priest was going down that road, and when he saw him, he passed by on the other side. So likewise the Levite, when he came to the place and saw him, passed by on the other side. But a Samaritan, as he journeyed, came to where he was, and when he saw him, he had compassion and went to him and bound up his wounds, and pouring on oil and wine, then he set him on his own beast and brought him to an inn and took care of him. And the next day he took out 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper, saying, 'Take care of him, and whatever more you spend, I will repay you when I come back.' Which of these 3 do you think proved neighbor to the man who fell among the robbers?" He said, "The one who showed mercy on him." And Jesus said to him, "Go and do likewise."
I have to set my timer because I talk a lot. I'm going to do the responsible thing. And Gwyn, just like you, miracles happen all the time. It's an amazing thing when it happens within the walls of this church. Curtis Stigers opened for me. Thanks for that. So I entitled my sermon, "Awakenings of a Neighborhood," but it's all kinds of neighborhoods, and awakenings happen all the time, and I don't know that we always even understand that it's happening, that there's an awakening and then there's a response. So our awakening started 2 years ago when the pandemic came into our little town, and we had a homeless shelter. And it was really scary for those of us who had homes to go to. It was very scary when our home was an open communal space with bunk beds and very, very vulnerable people. This huge weight of responsibility and really looking everywhere, no one knew what to do, right? And so our awakenings began with be brave and learn fast. And in those learnings, these amazing silver linings began to reveal themselves, which is what kept lifting us up to keep doing the work. So first, a hotel was identified to move our most vulnerable into, our families with children, our senior citizens, our medically fragile. That allowed us to have more space to serve more single men and women who were experiencing homelessness and had nowhere to go. In that hotel, an awakening happened when we realized that our most fragile had a place to stay day and night, and that we could bring service to them because they had the privacy of a room. And so suddenly we were able to lift up medical care and bring home health and hospice to those who had been struggling on the streets day until they could come into a shelter at night. And these stories that revealed themselves, I want to share stories with you as we go on this journey. We started to do direct intakes from hospitals, people who were going to be out on the street or had been living in their cars and were so sick, they called Interfaith to see if we could move them into that more protected hotel. And one of those families that needed our help was a father, a mother, and 2 toddlers, and he was terminally ill with cancer, and they were living in a car. They expected that he would probably live for about a month, and they asked if we could bring him in and help them. And we did. We brought them and their little dog in as well, and the little girls got to attend our preschool. The mom was able to go to work because we were there to support the dad. Hospice moved in to take care of him and manage his pain. And that 1 month turned into 8 months of a father getting to be a husband and a father. And he passed away at our hotel, surrounded by this community who had lifted up the whole family, and we all loved them. And he said to me that he could leave because he knew his family would be okay, that they were safe. And that's a story that I would never have been able to tell, and I don't know that I expected to ever be part of something like that. But that's just one of several stories that have happened with End of Life through our hotel program, but also New Life. and babies being born and being able to be safe in a hotel and have supportive services and case management and new onesies and just a village to help make sure that they're safe during a time where none of us felt safe. This hotel created a way to keep our most vulnerable neighbors held. And at the emergency shelter, you know, we still had crisis and we still had people who were dealing with addictions and mental health, but we were able to lift them up and do our programming because they were there. They had nowhere else to go, so they turned to us in a much bigger way. We turned our overnight shelter into a day shelter where people could be with us day and night. And these gifts, these awakenings, inspired us and scared us, because suddenly we were like an emergency shelter that could serve 250 people because of the 2 locations. But we knew, as everyone was talking about this pandemic, that eventually that funding would go away and that hotel would no longer be an option. And then our shelter, our staff, our sanctuary would be asked to choose who would get to come back to our 10,000 square foot warehouse to live with us and who would have to go and seek shelter elsewhere. And it was that awakening that made us pivot. And we had been looking for a new building for 3 years, and it's hard to find a building that can be a shelter. But we got lucky. It was a miracle. I feel like it was a miracle because now that we've learned how hard it is to find a building zoned for a shelter in our little town, this building was there and it was on sale. They had just reduced the price, and we decided right then that this was the time and we would make it happen. And we pulled our partners together and we figured out a way to put an offer in on that building that was going to take us from a 10,000 square foot warehouse to 30,000 square feet, sitting on just under 2 acres of property. And we brought architects in to work with us on what this reimagined space could be, and it was a dream. It was a campus where families would have their own building, and we would maintain that privacy by having private units for families and keeping them together, which we can't do at our main shelter. And we would have a medical dorm that would allow our most vulnerable to be given the services that they need, the home health, the hospice. We would build a medical clinic and a preschool. And we'd have a permanent recovery room, a permanent mental health room, arts, and a library, and a computer lab, and a teen kickback place, and everything that we kind of try and piecemeal together with our 2 shelters. You know, we turn an activity room into a preschool, and then we turn it into a dining room, and then we show movies there. And at the shelter, we turn a portable classroom that we do our recovering into overflow shelter because now we don't have enough capacity for everyone in need. And we turned our family side of our shelter into our programming side, where our people who are in recovery and are in mental health have this safe space to be day and night. And we just keep evolving. And we want it to evolve into a more permanent setting that felt like a home for people, that anyone who chose to be sheltered by interfaith could be with us day or night. There'd be no need that at 8 a.m. we have to ask some people to leave because we don't have enough space to do everything we want. And so the awakening was this building and everything that we'd learned in the last 2 years and the things that we'd been done before that with our work program and our food service training program. All of that could live in this beautiful campus. And on the back side, it was private. And we have a designed park and a community garden and a playground and a green space for kids to play soccer or roll in the grass. And no one would be lining up on a street. They'd have this safe place to enter into, they'd live on the back side, and they'd be protected. A lot of people in recent conversations have feared how will they protect themselves when, in fact, 75% of the crimes that occur in our community are against homeless people because they're misunderstood and they are vulnerable and they fall into a lot of categories that people just don't understand. And so when I walked into that building, that Salvation Army building, I saw it all. Like it was a picture in my head. I could see everything that we could do. What I didn't see was anger or opposition or someone not wanting us there. I saw a building that was safely secured and on a pretty busy road. And I thought, I think we'll be good. I think we'll be good. I think we'll be welcomed here. Uh-oh. Some people consider me a little naive. I was a lot more naive 2 years ago. Some people say I'm very optimistic, solution-based, super kind words. Like I love the words that people used to describe me as. That has changed to the awakening of a neighborhood who actually sees me as someone to fear. And that has very dark ideas about what my motivation is to create a safe shelter in this building. And I'm learning to grow stronger because it's not about me. It's about our most vulnerable neighbors and the fact that they all deserve to be loved and cherished and cared for. And homelessness is not a quick fix anymore. No one's getting out of our shelter in a day or a month because our community right now lacks access to affordable housing. Our community right now struggles with livable wage. We don't have a great transportation system. All of these things can be innovated, solutions are coming, but they're not here yet. But what is here is a growing need. People falling out of their housing every day. One of the fastest growing populations in our community are senior citizens losing their housing because they live on a fixed income and their rents are going up, and they live with us now. We've moved 6 senior citizens who really should be in assisted care, but we lost assisted care beds because they shut down during the pandemics. They don't get enough from Medicaid, so they've reduced the number of beds that are accessible to people on Medicaid and Medicare. And so we've created our own little senior citizen facility at the hotel. We've changed some of our programming, and we do bingo and game night and movies, and it's awesome. And they're adorable, and they're part of our children at the hotel. They're grandparents to them, and they sit in on the activities. So, like, as hard as it is to see what's happening, like the beauty that comes into our shelter because of it, but they're so scared. They're so scared they lost their home. Can you imagine? And so what I have vowed to do is to stand strong and to stand in front of congregations and anyone who wants to talk about this and promise that the shelter that we have designed is not just a building to hold people at night. It is a temporary home that they are welcome to be in 24 hours a day. There will never be a time where the doors will swing open and 200 badly behaved people will fall out into your neighborhoods and do terrible things. That's not the way we do things, and quite honestly, that's not the way a homeless population performs. That's just not fair. There are so many stories that live in a homeless shelter, and I have to check my time to see how many I can tell you. Uh-oh. Okay, I'm going to tell you a few because it's important for you to know that we have a woman who lives at our hotel shelter. She was brought to us through intake from the hospital. She's a mom. She's a wife. She's an author. She's an illustrator. And she's trying to survive cancer. And we got to know her because she showed us her books. She has self-published one book that is over 1,000 pages long. She has dyslexia, so she writes her books on a cell phone so that it autocorrects for her. And then she transfers it, and it's these stories of redemption. And she writes about this monster population, and one of the monsters feels like the group needs to get better behavior because they keep going to places and eating other people. And she wants them to change their dietary habits because there's goodness in them. And she does it in such a beautiful way, and what she's talking about is our world. She's talking about the behavior of people. And she's talking about a time where she lived in total fear and trauma because she was raised in a home that didn't protect her. And she had a monster who was a father. And she tells these stories and she makes it okay. And her illustrations are just amazing. And she's just started radiation. She's doing okay. And we're helping her to publish her second book, which is available on Amazon and also at Rediscovered Bookstore and Barnes & Noble online. She is someone who was someone's neighbor, and then medical bills and the house that they rented, the owner decided to sell. The increase in rents made it impossible for them to take what they had been paying for their home and find another place to live. And so the hospital worked with us to make sure that they would have shelter while she was going through her treatment. And then we have this man. He's at our emergency shelter. He's very, very quiet. He was in prison for a long time. He did some stuff because he didn't come from a place that had love or support. And while he was in prison, he taught himself how to be an artist. And he created his art with coffee grounds and toothpicks. It is unbelievable, the talent this man has. And we've turned one of our back offices into an art studio for him. And he paints all of our employees' dogs. I don't know how I'm not top of the list. I mean, I've been waiting for months to get one of my, but he's so unbelievably talented, but he slowly lost his hearing, and it took us 6 months to get him hearing aids because of the way the system worked. And he was so grouchy and mean because he had such a hard time communicating with people. But now we got him his hearing aids, they both work, and now he's just part of our shelter, and he makes art to raise funds for me to keep doing the work we do at the shelter. He's extraordinary. Okay, the last story I'm going to tell you is about this man who sat outside of our shelter for a very long time. He sat outside drinking in Cooper Court Alley and not talking, very disconnected. One day, he heard about our Phase 1 recovery program, and he snuck into the back of that classroom and he sat. And he kept coming back, but wasn't really engaging, but he kept coming back. And then he heard about Project Wellbeing, which is our mental health program, which works simultaneously together, and he decided to sit in on one of the groups. And there they were doing art therapy, and he got to draw his dreams, kind of put things down on paper for himself, and that kind of turned a little bit of a light on. And then he realized that he felt safest and best when he was in our shelter, so he asked if he could become just a full-time volunteer and just help us maintain our shelter. So every day he helped Buzz, our facility director, keep our shelter clean. And one day he had been on the back side of the property, and he walked into the shelter, and just a few random people said, "Hi, Kevin. Hi, Kevin. Hey, Kevin. How are you?" And he started to cry. And he walked into Project Wellbeing to talk to Nikki, our supervisor, and he said it had been so long since he'd heard his name called because no one knew him. And so that was the day like where his heart just opened and he became so engaged with Project Wellbeing and so engaged with his forward motion. This man is full-time employed now. He has several $1,000s in savings and is looking for housing. And he shows up every day ready to talk to anyone who feels disconnected. And that happened because we're a neighborhood and we take care of our own. And we do it in a shelter. And why I'm here today is because I know there's confusion. I know there's misinformation. But I stand before you to promise you that this is what our community deserves. And I hope that if you have questions, if you have fears, just come and talk to me. You can call me. I've sat with anyone who's willing to sit. I'll be here after this service, but just remember this next week, if you have prayers, give them to us. If you believe in us, believe strong, stand strong. We Are Interfaith Sanctuary is a shirt that was designed by a new group called the Boise Faith Group, and it just means exactly what this church means. We are all one. We might live differently, we might have different addresses, but we are all Interfaith Sanctuary. And so I really want to see those green t-shirts all week long so I don't misbehave. Thank you all so much for letting my husband Curtis and I be here with you on this special day, and I will be here afterwards if anyone has any questions. I hope this was an awakening for you. I know we all need to be awakened, and the next thing after that is we have to activate. Thank you.
Bravo. Bravo. I love that woman. But the trick is, you just opened for me. As I walk this wicked world, searching for the light in the darkness of insanity, I ask myself, oops, I shouldn't have gotten smart, should I? I ask myself, is there only pain and hatred and misery? And each time I feel like this inside, one thing I want to know, oh, what's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? As I walk on through these troubled times, my spirit gets so downhearted sometimes. Now tell me, where are the strong and who are the trusted, and where is that harmony, sweet harmony? And each time I feel it slipping away, it just makes me want to cry. What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? What's so funny about peace, love, and understanding? What's so funny about peace, love, and and understand it. What's so funny about that? What's so funny about that?
Friends, before I extinguish the chalice, I invite you to rise as you are able, here in the sanctuary and at home. Place your hands over your heart for our closing blessing. Today is a group blessing. You're going to open for each other. Please turn to a neighbor. And if you are not with someone at the moment, turn toward the home of a neighbor and say after me, "Bless you, my neighbor. I share your hunger for awakening. You belong here. You matter. Blessed are we all. Go in peace."